Hey folks, it's your pal Mike Shea from slyflourish.com and twitter.com/slyflourish here with another episode of Sly Flourish's Lazy DM Prep. In this weekly show, I go through the steps from Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master while preparing for my Sunday D&D game. In this case, I am running the adventure Ghosts of Saltmarsh, and today we're going to be talking about Chapter 4, Salvage Operation. This show is brought to you by the fine backers of Sly Flourish on Patreon, patreon.com/slyflourish. Thanks to you, we are able to keep this show up and running and get all our equipment that we need and keep the servers up and all of the maintenance and overhead costs required for keeping the Sly Flourish empire going. You can support that by supporting me on Patreon at patreon.com/slyflourish. If you are here on Twitch, on chat, please say hello. Hopefully everything is working smooth, and you can let me know that the channel is moving along just fine. We have, let's see, a few interesting things to talk about. I want to talk about what happened in last session's game, which was the tail end of Danger at Dunwater, and also had some downtime in Saltmarsh, and in particular, dealing with the vampire who they released into Saltmarsh and his stuff going on. Zolek is his name. So that was really interesting. And what else? I also want to talk about something I was just listening to. I literally was just listening to Dragon Talk, if you don't believe me, on my phone while I was getting ready. And I was listening to Jeremy Crawford talking about initiative and surprise and combat. When does combat begin? And I realized that not only have I been, doing it wrong, but I've also been promoting doing it wrong. And I think I want to, I like to know, he's not your problem. Hello, he's not your problem says, I've been doing it all wrong for years. I think we all have been doing it wrong for years. I don't know if we all have been doing it wrong. Some people have been doing it right. But I wanted to ponder this. And I think it's an interesting topic of, sure, the rule zero is you do what's fun. But a lot of people spent a lot of time getting these rules right or getting these rules in the state that they're in. And I think it's one thing to know what the rule is and then change it for the fun of the game. And it's something else to not know how the rules work and just going with whatever you go with. Now, granted, that's probably how most people played D&D back in the 80s. Von Coraline was just here. Hello and goodbye. The YouTube video of this will be up probably about this afternoon, about 4, give or take. Jairus18, I don't know if that's how I pronounce it, is here. Rexverdi is here. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon in the UK. Smith Boswell from the UK. Well, I'm glad somebody's awake. Sorry, it's hot in my room. So it's one thing to know what the rules are and then tweak them for the fun of your group and your game and your own preferences. And it's something else to just kind of winging it. Just winging it, like not exactly understanding how the rules work and just kind of running where we go. And one of the things that I often see on, I like to lurk in a bunch of different groups. I've always, one of my sub D&D hobbies, if you will, is to keep a thumb on like what's going on in this hobby as much as I can, as much as anybody can. And boy, the hobby's going crazy. And, I like to know about things like whether or not a major fast food company decides to get involved in the RPG publishing world and what the reaction of the community will be when that occurs. I like to just kind of know what's going on with that. If you were not aware, Wendy's, believe it or not, put out a full RPG, published RPG in PDF. And the folks at Critical Role ran it. They were promoted and they ran a session of it on Critical Role. And then there was a fair bit of backlash because Wendy's in particular does not support some major initiatives that almost all other fast food groups support, which help ensure that farmers are well cared for and that there isn't child labor and sexual assault and all sorts of other terrible things that can go on in third world countries in farming communities. So they did not do it. And because of that, there was a big backlash among the Twitter community and the critter community, the subset of D&D folks who are huge fans of Critical Role, who felt that was antithetical. Is that a word? Antithetical antithetical to the to the feelings of the Critical Role staff that they're certainly not big commercial corporate people. So in response, Critical Role gave all of the profits that they got from that to the very farm benefit that helps those same farmers that Wendy's did not support. So, and that seemed to get most of the community swung back in their favor again. So that was very interesting to watch. It's like, what is going on in this hobby, right? I don't know, crazy. Anyway, I like to keep my thumb on stuff like that just to kind of know what's going on. And a couple of the areas that I lurk are on the D&D Next Reddit group, which is a pretty good one, and the D&D Facebook community. And one thing that I see a lot of there are people who are relatively new to D&D who are already heavily modifying the rules. They're either creating new classes, or they don't like a particular mechanic, or they have something that they read and it just doesn't, and they go crazy kind of modifying it. And then they go to Facebook or Reddit and say, hey, I'm going to do this thing. And my feeling is like, try it for a while. Like, try it out seriously for a while before you decide it's time to house rule that stuff. Yeah, He's Not Your Problem says, Facebook D&D is rule modification hell. Yeah. Oh, my mom is here. Hello, Mom. We're talking about D&D rules. The cat might come up right as my mom shows up, which is good because that's why she's here. Oh, look at that. Oh, you had 3 seconds of cat. Not even 3 seconds. So yeah, so there's a lot of like, let's modify the rules and let's create new subclasses and stuff like that. And I get frustrated, but who am I to tell anybody what to do? And my feeling is like, try it out. Like, it's really hard to make this stuff. And also like a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of experience, and a lot of design, and a lot of play testing, and a lot of that stuff. Oh, my mom's not just here for the cats. That's nice. Right now you got to, oh, there he goes. He's getting huge. These cats are growing like weeds. So much energy went into creating the rules that are published that for us to just immediately sort of toss it aside by reading it and saying, that's not going to work for me. That's not the best way to go, I don't think. I don't recommend it. I recommend at least recognizing how much energy went into the rules and how much playtesting went into the rules. And then, really trying to understand it and using it for a while and then saying, okay, it's time to go back. And I'll tell you, like, I had some house rules early on that I've gotten rid of. Like, not everybody knows, but one of the things that always bothered me was I felt like the druid Circle of the Moon was too powerful, that it gave low-level characters way more hit points than other characters had because of the fact that the damage doesn't carry over when you take, if you take 15 points of damage as a Moon Druid, as like a bear, and it drops the bear, you only take the remainder. And I just felt like it was so many hit points that one character got. But then I realized, like, well, it's offset by AC and it's offset by a bunch of other things, and it's really the primary ability. So I got rid of that house rule. So I don't house rule that. Probably the only 2 house rules I really have in play. One of them is I do make it more difficult to get the bowls for Heroes Feast in higher level play, mostly because I feel like high level characters have so much money that if they wanted to, they could just cast Heroes Feast every day of adventuring, and that way they never had to worry about fear or poison ever again. And I think that's a little too powerful. So making the bowls rare is a little bit of a house rule. Not really. I mean, I'm just changing in-world stuff, but making it making it a little harder to cast Heroes Feast so that they only cast it when they know they're going to need it. They don't cast it every day. That's fine. So I just make the bowls hard to get. The second one is a relatively common house rule for, what's the spell? It's a druid and cleric spell. There's the other kitty. There's Maliki. Hello, Maliki. Maliki saying hello. Look, like Maliki likes to stand on the edge of it. She doesn't want to sit in it. She's like, I like things hard, and I like to stand right on the border of stuff. Oh, there she goes. What was the other one? Healing Spirit? Yeah, Healing Spirit. So Healing Spirit is a spell that was intended to be a battle spell where you could drop a little token in the center of a group, and then people around it would get a little bit of healing if they stood near it. The problem was it lasts for, I think, 10 rounds. And if everybody just surrounds it like a campfire, they get the equivalent of 10d6 healing, for a single second level spell. So it makes it way more powerful than other healing second level spells out of combat. Jairus18 says you like Dan Dillon's house rule. Can you write what Dan Dillon's house rule was in chat? I forget what Dan's is, but I liked Jeremy Crawford's house rule, which he recommended, like, if you feel like it's too powerful, one thing you can do is essentially have it heal only as many times as double the wisdom bonus or double the spellcasting bonus of the spellcasting ability modifier of the caster. So if you have a 16, if your cleric has a 16, and that's a +3 bonus, and the cleric casts Healing Spirit, it can heal 6 times. It'll do 6 bursts total. And then once it's used, Jairus's thing is the same as Jeremy Crawford's thing. The spell ends once the spirit has restored hit points a number of times equal to twice your spellcasting ability modifier, minimum of once. That is a very nice house rule. It's really clean. It came from the Wizards of the Coast people who said, like, if this happens. And I'll tell you, like, so I kind of put that in place immediately, and that meant that it never became an argument. But I've seen it in organized play where, people who are well-versed in organized play, they say, okay, we just finished a battle. All right, I'm casting Healing Spirit. Everybody gets, 35 hit point healing, right? And then they make it like real quick, is that thing wobbly? I don't know, I just saw it shake around. Maybe it's because my big-ass cat just jumped in it. Oh, there goes the other. The Healing Spirit's going to get angry. What? You're summoning me again? Yeah. So those are the only house rules I have in play. And that's because I want to try to run the game as close to the rules as written as I can before I try to tweak it too much to fit my own style. And God knows, like, I do lots of stuff for my own style. It's not like I never say, like, well, that's what the rules say. I'm always a big fan of. I'm gonna move my little thing down. I'm always a big fan of trying to make the game as fun as possible. So I still play with session, but I like to understand. So listening to Jeremy Crawford talking about how surprise works, I was surprised, and it clued into me a couple of things, and one of them I'd like to talk about in chat. So I often had a group get surprised or surprise their opponents. And when I did so, I would often say, okay, instead of initiative, we're just going to go around the table. So if the group got the drop on a bad guy, I would just have the 2 people on my left and right roll initiative, and I'd pick the higher one, and we'd go around the table that direction. Then we'd rotate directions back and forth. And that was really fast. That way we didn't have to hand out initiative cards and everything like that. And they would essentially get a surprise round. All of the characters would go before the monsters would go. Then sometimes the monster would get the drop on the characters. And when they did, like if the characters... like one of the characters was looking in his commode and, oh my God, there's a black pudding in there, and the black pudding lashes out. And I don't even give anybody a chance for, detecting it or anything like that. It's like you stuck your head in the commode and there's a black pudding in there. It's going to attack you. The black pudding attacks the person. Then we roll for initiative, and then we go around the table. We don't roll for initiative. We have the people go around the table. And only in the cases where neither group really got the drop on the other, that's where I would have everybody roll for initiative and we figure out where things go. So that is a big variant from the rule. I didn't think that was a big variant from the rules. I thought that was just like a faster way of running combat, and certainly faster in the sense that you didn't have to worry about initiative. But the real rule is there is no such thing as a surprise round. There are characters that might be surprised, and there are other characters that might not be surprised, and everything always goes in initiative order. So if anytime any hostile action occurs between anybody, you stop everything and you roll initiative, period. And then you determine, okay, everybody's in initiative order, but we now determine who was surprised. And if one group was being sneaky, if, for example, the black pudding was being stealthy, the black pudding would roll a stealth check. And any character who has a passive perception lower than that stealth check is surprised, and they essentially lose their action that first turn. Any character that got equal to or higher than has a passive perception equal to or higher than that score, that stealth check, gets to act legitimately, gets to act, period. So that way there is no surprise round, there are surprised characters, and that can go both ways. So that means that, like, that whole idea of one group getting the drop on the other group and then going around the table kind of goes out the window. The hard part for me is I really like going around the table as a variant of initiative. I really would prefer just not worrying too much about handing out cards and getting everything in order and kind of having that as I think it was Adam Koebel who said, it's just this dead area of, like everything's going fast, all the action. Oh, stop. Let's all do some income taxes, right? Let's stop. Everybody do a little bit of paperwork. Okay, the paperwork's done. All right, now back into the action. And I kind of get that, right? Like you want things to kind of roll smoothly in the story, and initiative and that break of initiative, the smash cut. That's what Adam Koebel referred to it as. The smash cut of initiative is really that's really a problem, right? It's a break in the action. So what I'm trying to ponder, and I might have to think about this more. I think what we're going to start with is, for my next few games, I'm going to go with the rules as written. I'm going to try it, and I'm going to see how it plays out. And then I'll probably try to figure out, is there still a way to go around the table? Is there still a way to kind of make initiative as fast as possible and still have surprise rounds and still have surprise characters, but still kind of go quickly? And that is tricky. I think I'm going to have to figure that out. But if you guys in chat have any way that you can, I know that there are that the DMG, the Dungeon Master's Guide, has variant rules for initiative, including side initiative. So what I'm curious is, like, how does side initiative fit with surprise? Do those two things work together? And it could be that they don't. But we'll have to find out. So I'm really curious about that. Anyway, if you want to find out more, I should have, maybe a wonderful hero in our chat can link to the YouTube video of Jeremy Crawford talking about surprise. I think that would be a useful thing for people to see. And I don't really want to go digging around in the internet right now. Let's see. Let's go look at chat. So Genres has Dan's house rule doc. Let's take a look at that. Hope you didn't send me a virus. Oh, yeah. So Dan Dillon has a whole bunch of house rules. Look at that. The spell ends once choice. Yeah, right. So that was Jeremy Crawford's rule that he took, I think. I think Jeremy Crawford, he put that out pretty quickly. Popcorn initiative. I heard about popcorn initiative. I don't remember exactly how it works. This is interesting. Oh, look, he's got his ranger companion. Interesting. Just looking at Dan's rules. That's kind of interesting. It's interesting to see Dan's rules, and then Dan got hired onto Wizards of the Coast, so we'll see how that plays out in future things. Who knows? So, yeah, so I'm going to play with more of that. All right, so let's talk about today's game. So, in last week's game, we finished Danger at Dunwater. The characters faced the Malenti. They killed the Malenti. They got rewarded by Queen Othacant, the head of the lizard folk, the Dunwater lizard folk tribe, and were rewarded with the Helm of Underwater Breathing. So they've got a new magic item that will help them in future adventures. They then went back to Saltmarsh, unsure of what they were going to face. They met with the council, and the council told them that they were willing to... There's only 4 council members now, because one of them died. One of them was poisoned. And they talked to the council. The council said, yes, we're going to deliberate. They met with the ambassador from the Lizard Folk tribe. They said, yes, we're going to deliberate this, but we certainly... Oh, thank you. Jarvis18 got the Crawford's YouTube video and link to it. Let's click that. Oh, no. And we're just going to paste that into here. Let's see. I'm just adding some links. I can't type. It's hard to type when you can't see your own hands and keys. So they went back to town, and then they got 2 invitations. One was to see Keladek the Mage, and one was to see... the NPC who they saved, who turned out to be a real Metha Jewel Singer. Let's jump over to our notes, shall we? In OBS. There we go. This is last week's notes, but I'm going to get rid of all these. We'll keep them around. We'll go through them while we're looking at this, and then we'll come up with new ones. But we can get rid of the strong start, and we can get rid of the scenes, because these are all new today. So Metha Jewel Singer was a inquisitor sent by King Scotty and the Kyoland Empire to find smugglers and slavers and malcontents inside Saltmarsh. Along her journey, she was killed by Zolek the vampire, who didn't know her from anybody, just happened to kill her. And he drained her, and that started making him stronger. And then the party found out about this, and they demanded that he resurrect her. And he did, but he actually secretly turned her into a vampire spawn. So Metha now works for Zolek. Metha contacted the characters saying, I demand that we meet. We need to talk. And they said, okay. And they said, well, the mage, Kaladek, also wanted to meet with us, but we'll start with Metha. So they met with Metha, and she had grilled them about, did you kill my pet? And like, yeah, we're sorry. And she said, you said you released a vampire. Is this true? And they're like, well, we don't know. Some things happened, mistakes were made, and a vampire is now loose. And she's like, I need to know anytime you're leaving town, anytime you're doing anything around here, I want to be aware of it, because I could throw you in the cells right now. I could send you back and probably have you executed if I wanted to, but I'm not going to, because I know that there's things going on. And I think there's more to learn, and I think there's more to your story, so I'm going to keep you around. And they're like, okay, thanks for that. So then they went to Kaladek, and there's Kaladek drinking wine while his house guest Zolek is drinking a thing full of blood, and they're like chums, and like, oh, hey, you're here. And so Zolek says, all right, my friend Kaladek is keeping me while I find a place, but in the meantime, I know that not all of you, and if you recall, I think it was last game and the game before, I talked about the fact that my players feel very differently about what they want to do with Zolek, and so they, and that made me nervous, because like, I don't want the players to be fighting with each other. I don't mind if the characters are kind of against each other, but I don't want the players to be fighting with each other. There's one player in particular, Pat and Thurvin, is really like, I hate Zolek, and we're going to have to kill this guy, and I'm not working for him, and I'm not agreeing to anything with him, and screw him. And which isn't a bad way to go with a vampire that you let free. But everyone else is like, I don't know, he could be really useful. And there's a bunch of people like, he's a good guy. He kills bad people. That's okay. So I had Zolek say, look, I know not all of you are on board with me being here. I recognize that after releasing me, you may have and after seeing that some of what I've done, that you may think it's a mistake. But I'm telling you that I would like to come to an agreement with you guys, and I can help you. And by the way, let me tell you some things. There is another group working inside Saltmarsh known as the Scarlet Brotherhood, and they are trying to infiltrate the council, and they are trying to disrupt the governance of this town and hoping to take it over for themselves. I can help you root them out if you want, but I also want us not to be friends, and I will not ask anything of you other than just don't get in my way, and don't make my life any harder than it has to be being a vampire already. And everybody else is like, yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, we're on board. Yeah. And Thurvin's like, no, like, I'm not making any agreement with you. And he's like, and he says, like, can I show you just a small demonstration? And he looks over and charms one of the other characters and has him dance around and has him do stuff. He's like, I could make you love me. I could just tell you, I could charm you, and you would be my thrall. I don't want you to be a thrall. I'm not into thralls anymore. Not few, but not you guys. And, I want you to agree with me on your own free will, right? Then I don't have to worry about you. But I could make you if I have to. And Thurvin's like, you do what you got to do. And he's like, well, I'm not going to do it. So I will presume that we are on peaceful grounds, and I will not kill any innocent people. I will only kill bad people, and I will not kill people inside Saltmarsh. And they're like, well, and everyone else is like, yeah, that's very reasonable. And Pat's like, no, that's not reasonable. And he's a vampire. We're going to have to kill this guy eventually. And he's probably not wrong. They're probably going to have to fight him, but we'll see. So he's like, all right. So the party leaves, and they're like, all right, well, we got other things. So they walk out, and I cut back to a third-person view of that scene, and I said, Zolek looks over to Kaladek and says, what do you think? And Kaladek's like, I don't know. We'll see how this plays out. And Zolek turns to a shadowy corner, and says, what do you think? And Metha steps out, and she's got vampire teeth. And Metha says, well, I think they're going to be trouble, And he's like, yeah. So I let the players know that Metha is a vampire, right? And that way I'm blowing the surprise early, but I don't care, because now I don't have to worry about it, like, keeping it a surprise. And they know, like, oh, wow. So the chief interrogator who's trying to find the vampire is a vampire. Huh. And I think that that's a fun thing. So then they went and met with, and this gets into today's discussion. They met with God, I get all these names mixed up. Anders Solmar, who's their kind of primary point of contact. They met with Anders Solmar, and Anders' guy led them in. One thing I've been very careful about is not naming his butler. So instead of naming his butler, I just say his butler lets you in and asks for drinks and says, "Is there anything I could get you?" Right, and that way it's like, oh, the butler did it. So so he asked Anders. So Anders said, "We have something else going on. I'm worried that there is a problem with people that are currently on the council, and I hear rumors that there is evidence about this on a ship that's out at sea called the Emperor of the Waves. We thought the ship was sunk, but people have seen it, and we have a map of where it's located." And yeah, people have talked about Zolek being Dexter from the show Dexter, that he's sort of like the serial killer. I don't think he's quite like Dexter. He's not his thing is like he's just as evil as anybody else, but he's also been trapped for 1,000 years in a tomb after getting too well discovered. So I think his thought is like, I'm not going to take over Saltmarsh. I just want to live here. And he also offered the characters. He said, if we cannot come to an agreement, I'll leave. I'll just leave, and you don't have to worry about me ever again. I will leave Saltmarsh and I'll go somewhere else. But I kind of like it here, and I'm hoping we can get along. And they're like, and Thurvan's like, that's probably for the best. And everyone else is like, no, we could use you. You're a really good guy, and we like you, and we want you to help root out the Scarlet Brotherhood for us. So he's like, okay, I'll stay. So he's not quite like, he doesn't have morals. He's not a good guy, right? But he is kind of like, look, I'm only going after bad people for now. But I think like he's a vampire. He can't help himself, right? He's gonna bite more than he can chew. So yeah. Anyway, so they went to Anders Solmar. Anders said the Emperor of the Waves is a ship we thought was sunk. It's actually still around, and there's evidence on the ship that we want. And I'd like you to go out and go to the Emperor of the Waves, get on board, and get the lockbox that's there, and bring it back. Bring it and whatever is inside back here, and we can figure out what's going on. And the party's like, yeah, that sounds great. So that's like their next big mission. They also, I don't know if players recognize, but like that's the next adventure in the book. So they kind of have to do it. Talking so much, my mouth is getting dry. So that leads us to chapter 4, which is Salvage Operation. Salvage Operation, let's bring it up there. That is the artwork from Salvage Operation over there, by the way. Salvage Operation is a adventure that was written in 2005 by none other than Mike Mearls, back when he was a freelancer, I think. Yeah, he was a freelancer in 2005, I believe. And it was for 3rd edition. It has been converted over to 5th edition by the fine folks at Kobold Press. And this is a really fun and interesting adventure. I ran it once before already with my Wednesday group. And what I particularly like about this adventure is how flexible it is to mold it around the story that's going on. And there's a few different features of this. So the basic premise of the story is that there's a ship that everyone thought was sunk, but it's out there again. And in the story, the ship landed on an island and it was taken over by evil druids. And the evil druids then are sailing it back out again. And there's a bunch of legal documents aboard the ship that would make the patron who hires the characters rich, because he lost all of his, fancy paperwork that he needs to stay rich. So that's the story. However, you can easily rip out the story and replace it with whatever story fits you best. And you can do that in a few ways. One is the Emperor of the Waves itself. You can decide what ties to that. There's a lot of things. So for one example is Bleth. There's a bunch. I'm going to go through the backstory right now of all the characters and determine like a bunch of them were involved in ships that sunk. This could be one of the ships that was sunk, right? And it's still around. So there could be a whole bunch of ties between this ship and the ships that were sunk among the characters. 2 is you can decide what's in the box. What's in the box? You can decide that maybe it's paperwork, or in my case, maybe it is evidence that one of the members of the council was a previous ally of the Sea Princes. And I think that's where I'm going to go. That there's evidence. This is what I ran in my other group, and I'm probably going to do it the same way here, is that there is evidence. There's paperwork inside the ship that that Ida Oland the senior most council member had actually given up Saltmarsh citizens as slaves to the sea princes, and had done so. The reason she did it was because it was that or get taken over by the sea princes, and she said that a few is better than all of us. But still, that is not only would she get kicked off the council, she'd likely be executed for it. So that is bad evidence. Now, of course, the evidence is real. But how Anders Solmar found out about it is particularly interesting. The evidence has been out there for like 5 years on board this ship, and yet somehow word of it got back. And I have a way that this happened in the background. There's one other flexible variable in this adventure, and that's the final villain. There is a boss that's on this ship. In the main adventure, it is a druid of Loth, but you can change it to anything else. And I changed it in my Wednesday game to be a Pact of the Old One warlock, and I tied it to Tharizdun. And that sort of ties together another interesting subplot that's going on in Saltmarsh, which is that Tharizdun, you can connect the cult of Tharizdun to the Scarlet Brotherhood through one individual. And that individual is Mr. Where is he? He's a good-looking guy. Mr. Dory. That's not him. Mr. Dory is a... man, he's way down here. There's a picture of him. There he is. There's Mr. Dory after getting fully indoctrinated into the cult of Tharizdun. So, in my story, Mr. Dory is the head of the Scarlet Brotherhood in the Styes, a neighboring seaside town. He is also a twisted and converted priest of Tharizdun, of the Chained God, through an aboleth that lives in the Styes. He's connected to this. So because of his connection to both the cult of Tharizdun, the cult of the Chain God, we're going to call them, because he's connected to the cult of the Chain God and he's connected to Scarlet Brotherhood, he got information from the Emperor of the Waves and fed it back through his Scarlet Brotherhood connections and got it into the hands of the Scarlet Brotherhood in Saltmarsh, who then gave it to the characters, who then go and get it. So there's this connection of these two different groups, the cult of Tharizdun and the Scarlet Brotherhood, and it's all connected through this one person who's kind of the boss of the final adventure in this book, which is Mr. Dory. So that to me is a fun way of tying these together. And what I love about Salvage Operation is because you can change what is going on with the ship, who is the boss of the ship, and what is in the box, you can tailor make this adventure to fit very well into whatever adventure you have. That works really well. So some key things that I have to do today is, and I forget what players are out. I think Joe said he was out. Corvell, I think is Corvell out or Jerry is out? Damn it. I think it might be Jerry who's out. So some questions we have to answer are, and we're gonna, let's take a look at the secrets from last week and just see if there's anything that, Meth is actually Vampire Swan. Yep, I spoiled that. Zolek knows that there's a cult. Yep. Zolek will not kill people in Saltmarsh. He'll hunt. Yep. Zolek and Kyle besties. Yep. Zolek knows that there's a plot going on with third faction besides the traditional list. Yep. He has multiple coffins. We didn't get that. It doesn't matter. There's incriminating evidence and a member of the council in lockbox aboard the Emperor of the Waves. Yes. There's a secret organization. Yes. Subscribe is looking to destabilize the council of Salvage. Yes. All of these came out. This all came out last week. Kidnap, assassinate at least 3 members. Yeah. So this is an important one. The Sage. Yeah, all those secrets came out. So we have new secrets. So let's see. The Emperor of the Waves. Let's look at the characters first. Get the characters in mind. Number 1. And we'll go through, including Mac, just in case he happens to be there, but also because there might be some ties. So the Lady's Grace, Thurvin and Mac both served on the Lady's Grace. So one of the secrets is that the Emperors of the Waves was... the Lady's Grace and the Tamarot. The Tamarot is a ship that I think is an Adventure 6. I should drink my coffee. Sorry for slurping on camera, on mic. The Lady's Grace was destroyed. The other two were lost at sea. Lady's Grace and Tamarot were both destroyed. That's really a separate secret, right? We're gonna split these secrets up. All right, so yeah, Mac and Thurvin both served upon the Lady's Grace. Mac was actually a slaver. Thurvin was a slave, and both got free. And Thurvin actually saved Mac. And he gave his blood to Zolek, which means Zolek knows things about Mac. Bleth, a human paladin of Procan, an ink black whale ate her parents. So the same... I think it was called the Black Death. Is that what we called it? We'll call it the Black Death. The same ink black whale that destroyed Bleth's parents' ship. Destroyed... So one thing that could be cool is if in the ship, so in the box, actually we don't have to put this, but the Cult of the Chain God destroyed Bleth's parents' ship by summoning the Black Death on orders from the Scarlet, from the Sage. So this is if you recall, there was a movie about the Headless Horseman. Oh, and then what was that other movie? Brotherhood of the Wolf, I think. And it's essentially like there's this big, powerful werewolf. It turns out to just be a sort of another wolf that was trained to do it. Everyone's worried about the monster in the woods. But the secret is the monster is controllable, and there's an evil group that's controlling the monster. I think we could do that with the Black Death. That the Black Death is essentially not quite mindless, but it is summonable by the Cult of the Chain God. And since the Cult of the Chain God has a connection to the Scarlet Brotherhood told the Cult of the Chain God, summon it and destroy Bleth's parents' ship, which means the Scarlet Brotherhood is the one that's actually responsible for murdering her parents. Black Death is a child of the Chain God. Child isn't exactly right. Avatar. We'll go with child. I kind of like that. It's like one drop of its blood hit the water and formed into this thing. What else? I like that. Have you decided on a stat block for the whale? Yes, the Kraken. I'm going with the Kraken because the Kraken is great. And I have a Kraken mini. So one thing I mentioned is that the whale might not be a whale. It might actually be a Kraken. Or it's a whale, a tentacled whale, which is like a Kraken. And I have a great Kraken mini. I bought that unpainted version of the Kraken mini, and I'm going to bring that today. I don't know if I'm going to get to use it yet. I didn't get through all the characters yet. So Bleth, Corvel, Fisher got knocked in the head during a bad fishing expedition. He was saved by Dave and healed. Proselytizes the god Zygag. He and Dave both serve Ida Oland, and Ida pays Dave a stipend to take care of Corvel. I got to read more about Zygag. I know he got rid of. I think I already played up that Zygag. That Zygag and Ayuz are mortal enemies, which is why the cult of Ayuz is now watching. It starts as a whale and then goes full tentacle when visible. Yeah. So Ayuz and Zygag are hate each other, and therefore the cult of Ayuz, the group of Ayuz, is watching the characters through cursed magic items, and they know they're cursed now. It might not really matter. Dave, Triton, Monk, and Fisher saved Corvel during the fishing expedition, which Corvel was nearly killed. Brought Corvel to Nose of the Endless Nadir, a section of the deep ocean that seems like a tear in the fabric of the world. Let's see. Black Death came from the Endless Nadir. It is not alone. What if it spews demons or small aberrations like that monster in Avernus? Oh, that'd be cool. I haven't looked at that one. I know what you're talking about, though. So one other... should I finish the last one? Triton Monk, Thurvin, Saf Sea Elf Storm Sorcerer, served in the same pirate ship as Max, saved Max's life. And after the Lady's Grace, the ship in which they served was sunk. Met Farron the Druid. Yeah. So, who is on the Emperor of the Waves? So the question is, there's 3 questions for this. What's the story of the Emperor of the Waves? I think we've got that covered. What's in the box? And it sounds like we got a couple of things that'll be interesting. One is the incriminating evidence about Ida Oland. The other is that orders that came from the Scarlet Brotherhood, that came from the Sage, to the Golem. So, in disguise. The Golem is connected to both the Scarlet Brotherhood and the Cult of the Chain God. So there's an agent of the Scarlet Brotherhood in this dice known as the Golem, is a secret. The Golem is connected to both the Scarlet Brotherhood and the Cult of the Chain God. That is a good one. I love that there's sort of this nexus between these two cults, and that it is this figure that's far away, and they don't know enough to deal with it yet. I think that's cool. I'm keeping these other secrets, the 4 remaining secrets. So we know what's in the box. So then the last question, an important question, is who is the boss in who is the boss in this ship? And I think what I like is I liked using. Let's see. Let's go to. You do too much D&D when you just type D and it goes to D&D Beyond. Pact of the Old Great One. Warlock of the Great Old One. CR6, which is pretty powerful, but I like this. I like this as a monster. So in our monsters, we're going to jump down to monsters. And we have Warlock of the Great Old One. There was a couple other Mordenkainen monsters that were pretty great. Abyssal Maws, were they? Sources, source books, Mordenkainens. Eberron. Oh, is that coming? Oh, it's coming out. When's that coming out? I want Eberron so bad. Looking forward to Eberron. Source books, Mordenkainens. Isn't there an Abyssal Maw? I thought there were some. Let me do this differently. We'll go to search, do general search. I want my advanced search. Where's the advanced search? Here we go, monsters. And we are going to do fiends. And we are going to do advanced. And we're going to go to source. And we're going to go to Mordenkainen's filter. Here are all of our fiends. There are a lot of fiends. But there was one in particular I wanted to do. It was like an Abyssal Maw or something like that. Let's see, one other filter. We can challenge rating 1 to 4. 1 to 3 is fine. Looking for the lower ones. I guess it's not in here. Let me go back here and type Abyssal. What am I thinking of? Damn. I can't remember. I thought there was some. It's like got 3 arms. It looks like a Zorn, but it's a demon. Maybe it came from a different book. There's Maw in the name. Maw Demon. Haha, there it is. That's the one. Oh, glorious. Where'd this come from? It's from Volo's Guide. The Maw Demon. I think that this is a cool one. It's pretty simple. Pretty straightforward thing. But I like that. So we're going to stick that in here. So the book focuses on Loth, so it has a lot of spidery creatures in it. But I want to focus on Tharizdun, so I'm going to put a lot of other nasty aberrations and demons and stuff. So, what other? Oh, and I'm thinking of putting a instrument of the bards in here for our bard character. Do we have a bard? I don't know if we have a bard. Because Bleth isn't Bleth. What is Bleth? Bleth is a paladin. I gotta think about treasure. I got 9 minutes to figure this out. What is Ecloid? Let's try that. Nope. So let's go to sources. No, game rules, monsters. I am looking for, we'll do challenge rating. We'll do a half just to get it up there, and no higher than 3. And we want aberrations. Can you do multiple ones? Aberrations and fiends? Yes. To kind of see what sort of creatures. Let's order these by CR. How many are there? It's just a couple pages of them. I want things that the crew could have churned into. What is a Burbalang? That's kind of cool. They crawl across dead gods. Varghoul. Isn't this the one that... I like Varghouls. We're going to use a Varghoul. I've never used one of them before. I don't think undead. I think these are... So what happened... My thought about what happened is that the ship... oh, these are some other secrets. Yeah, that the Emperor of the Waves crashed upon the shore. With a massive obelisk. Millions of years old. And into abominations. So it's like the raw energy of the chained god came off of this obelisk. And it turned the crew into monsters. And these monsters are the ones that we're looking up now. Let's see. Flying Horror. Nah, let's skip Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. Nah, Grell. Marinloth. Neogi. I think I am going to throw some... what are the spider... Well, let's see. They're in the adventure itself. Let me take a look here. I'm probably going to reskin a lot of the stuff that's in the adventure. So the swarms will be like... They will be spiders, but they'll be like these twisted demon spiders. Ettercaps. So I think we will steal Ettercaps. They look like good monsters that people turn into. Folks in Twitch chat, are there any monsters that are typically formed by corrupted humanoids? So if pirates were to have found an obelisk and upon placing their hands on the obelisk or after getting sort of converted by whatever raw horrors are on this island into twisted, abominable humanoids that are changed in the image of Tharizdun, what would those monsters be? Like from the lore, from the monster lore, what monsters fit that idea of, once humanoids? Like demons did certainly, well, devils do, but demons do too, I think. They're sort of primordial. Yeah, Ettercap reskinned with tentacles. Yeah, that's what I did. Tentacles and acid, right? Works really well. Or like a sticky substance. But I don't know. I guess I'm good with the monsters so far. I can always reskin them. Yeah, reskin thugs, right. But I can reskin these guys too and kind of say that they're converted. That works. So treasure. Who has treasure? Who wants treasure? I want to put something. I don't think they're going to clear this whole ship today, so I'm kind of planning. Skylar already has a cloak of protection. Bleth, I believe, somebody already has the Raven. Yeah, it has Molly the Silver Raven. Mac has that. So Bleth, the Paladin. What would a... her father's sword? She fights with she fights with other items. She fights with like a harpoon. Ooh, a javelin of lightning would be great. A harpoon of lightning. That might be cool. belong to Bleth's mother. That would be a strong one. A wand of the War Mage. Wand of the War Mage is kind of boring, isn't it? We could throw another wand in there. Let's go look. Wand. Wand of Entangle is pretty great. Wand of Webs. Wand of Viscous Globs. Wow. On a hit, the glob expands and dries as target, which is restrained for 1 hour. Yeah. Staff of Power is probably a bit much. I like the Wand of Entangle, and it's all like tentacles instead of... Yeah. I kind of dig that. Not super powerful. That's a good one. Yeah. Well, it is 11 o'clock. I think I'm in a pretty good state. One thing I did, and one thing I'd offer up that I think works really well for the recently published adventures. Oh, I'm doing all this wrong. The maps for this adventure are all done by Dyson, and they are easily printed as blueprint maps at your local Staples or FedEx print center. And for like $2, $2 or $3 for a big print. So this map, I have a printout. I think I did an 18 by 24 version of this map, which is a really good size for considering it's a 5 foot squares. So yeah, this is a really good. It's a really great. I was not for the black and white maps originally when I saw them in Dragon Heist, but I tell you, the ability to print these things at scale for like $2 a piece, that's a game changer. Like that means you can print all the maps out in an entire adventure for like $20 or $30, and being able to put those down on the table is a big benefit. So yeah, I really dig it, and I'm going to use it today. So I need to go get my minis ready for today's game, and I think this is probably going to be the first of probably a two-parter where we talk about this adventure, so we'll figure out what the characters do. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I want to thank everybody in Twitch chat for coming, and thanks to all of you for watching, and thanks to all of you on YouTube for watching the channel. Tell your friends about it, share it, and if you enjoyed it. And I will see all of you guys next week. Have a great week and go play some D&D.